They were the kingmakers, or queenmakers, of 2010. The three independents who broke last year's 17-day federal election deadlock by handing government to Julia Gillard.
Yeah, no, we made the right call, there's no doubt about that. In my view, if I was faced with the same circumstances, even with the benefit of hindsight, I think we made the right call.
Was your decision the right decision?
Yes.
No doubt.
I have no regrets at all, no doubts at all. If the situation was repeated, I would do the same thing.
As their pact with Labor passed its first birthday, the three shared with Fairfax Media some striking insights about what they've learned in that 1 year and about how those lessons might affect their decisions in the months ahead.
Yeah, I didn't expect to be the walking dartboard to the extent that a few of us have found ourselves to be.
We often see our parliament as a pit of anger and abuse. Our lawmakers can be a lawless lot. But the independents argue that this parliament, where no one party has control, is actually better than most.
Stable and productive.
And better than it might have been with majority government?
I think so.
The parliament's working, the economy's stronger than it was 12 months ago, and Australia is fundamentally a country at peace. Yes, there's work to do, but geez, you wouldn't know that if you read some of the articles I've read.
Of course, the Prime Minister they chose has become remarkably unpopular. Could public opinion force them into switching, into backing an Abbott government?
Yes, I could. I think it's very unlikely that is going to happen any time in the next 2 years, but there are scenarios in which I would support him.
Andrew Wilkie says his relationship with Tony Abbott has warmed over the year. Tony Windsor says his relationship with the opposition leader has chilled.
I think he's locked in a boxing ring and brawling's his game. During that 17-day period, we saw certain character flaws in Tony, and I think we've seen that borne out in the style of opposition that he's run, where we're almost hoping that the country collapses so that it can be a self-fulfilling case. But then at the time also countered that on a number of occasions by saying he'd do anything to become Prime Minister. So it was more about him becoming something rather than a real policy agenda to do something for the country.
So could Tony Windsor ever back an Abbott government?
I wouldn't participate in this parliament in imposing him on the Australian people as Prime Minister.
Why not?
Well, I think the style, the combative nature of the man, the almost complete lack of policy, the opportunism of the way he works in terms of opposition. I don't think that would terribly change too much if he was in government. I think that's his basic nature.
Of course, Labor could lose its nerve with Julia Gillard, could dump her in favour of the far more popular former PM, Kevin Rudd.
Maybe if Gillard is removed, is toppled, maybe that would be the situation in which I would switch my support to Abbott, or not switch it to anyone.
Well, obviously people would have to sit down and talk. I'd look at that situation if in fact it develops. I don't think that situation will develop.
About the only thing I can say with any certainty is I would be hard pressed to support another Labor leader, if only because of the instability that would have been demonstrated in another change. I think a lot of Australians are still uncomfortable with the way Julia Gillard came to power. It's not the way we do things in Australia. Australians didn't like it last year and they wouldn't like it again this year.
Broadly, those who made Queen Julia still want her on the throne. They've locked in both major parties. Tony Abbott's only real option for the top job is an election, and Labor, well, if it decides to dump its deeply unpopular leader, it might lose the numbers it needs to govern.